And if there's anything we learned from the 2020 election, it's how unpredictable the results can be. And 2020 could be even more up in the air than past elections. Why? Rekha Muddaraj explains.
Presidential elections tend to be unpredictable, but why is the 2020 election expected to be even stranger than usual? There are several issues at play here, but the elephant in the room has to be the impeachment inquiry. No one knows how it's going to wind up, and while you might assume going through an impeachment trial would hurt President Trump, it could have the exact opposite effect. Bill Clinton's poll numbers actually went up. Next up, there are still a lot of Democratic candidates in the running. While the field has thinned out a little bit, a lot of these potential presidential contenders still have a chance. And it's not unheard of for frontrunners to stumble and fall just feet from the primary finish line. Remember Howard Dean? Finally, what will be the big issue for voters heading into November 2020? Right now, the polls all say healthcare, but 12 months is a long time, and that could change. All this means is we could be in for quite the roller coaster ride before we even get a chance to vote for the president. With the Why, I'm Rekha Muddaraj for H-Town Rush.